Hi, it is Sunday, May the 24th, and I hope you're enjoying a happy Memorial Day weekend. I want to just give you a quick update on where we stand right now in terms of getting past the worst part of the COVID-19 outbreak. And there is indeed good news at this point, but there's a lot of confusion. And honestly, clearly there's a lot of just fatigue. People are just becoming exhausted, not only with the lockdowns and the just changes in our lifestyle, but there's such an information overload. And people are confused by the conflicting messages that they're being told. So in doing these videos every week, it is an attempt to try and synthesize the information and give it to you in a way that helps you, hopefully, to make sense out of all the news that's out there, and hopefully to give you that without any political spin. And let me just tell you, I don't care what your political view is. I have no interest in trying to influence who you support. I just want to give you good information so that you can make wise decisions for yourself and your household. So with that said, a quick look at where we stand globally, nationally, and locally. The news is a bit confusing. Let me present it to you two ways. The numbers that we see from around the globe in terms of the cases that have been confirmed of COVID-19 on a daily basis, over the span of the last week, what we've seen is about 99,000 new cases confirmed on average per day. That compares to the previous week, that being about 88,000. So there's a significant uptick there. In America, the numbers have remained the same from 2 weeks ago to this past week. We're seeing an average of about 23,000 new cases per day that are confirmed. And here in the state of Alabama, there has been a definite uptick, a significant movement of about 22% increase from 1 week to the next in terms of new confirmed cases. Thankfully, here in Baldwin County, the numbers that we see have remained very stable over the course of the last week or so. So it sounds a bit confusing. It's up globally, it's stable nationally, it's up at the state level, it's not moving at the local level. It helps to look also and to factor in and maybe even consider with a little more weight the death numbers. And so let me give you a quick rundown on that. In terms of global numbers, what we have been seeing over the course of the last week is about 4,400 deaths per day from COVID-19 that are being reported, compared to a month ago when that was 6,300 deaths per day. So that's about a 30% drop in the span of a month, and that's probably a better number to work from. On a national level, again, the news is good in terms of numbers of deaths. This past week, there have been about 1,225 deaths per day on average, compared to the week before when that was 1,440, compared to a month ago when that was 2,000. So what we have seen is a 39% decrease in the number of deaths per day in the United States, which is a consistent decline. The number of deaths in the state of Alabama has declined greatly over the span of the last week, a decrease of close to 40%. And so across the board, when we use a number of deaths as a measurement, we definitely seem to be getting ahead of the curve with this disease. And that may be a better measurement, because an increase in the numbers of tests that are done sort of skews the numbers. You may have a stable number in terms of a rate of spread of the disease, or it may be a declining rate, but more testing may cause that number to be inflated. So the fact that the number of deaths consistently are going down is good news. Now, also just a quick look globally at what's going on that helps us to get a better sense of where we stand. The disease is still on the spread big time in North America and South America. It's definitely heating up in the Middle East, and definitely on the move in Russia, and beginning to heat up in India. But we see very good things happening in the Far East, in many of the Asian nations, and in much of Western and Southern Europe. I mean, there are so many countries in Europe that are very encouraging for us to look at as examples. Places like Italy, Spain, France, Switzerland, and many others where the disease has really been reeled in. And Germany is absolutely off the charts in terms of setting the pace and showing what social distancing can do to get the disease under control. So one of the things that we take away from this is that it is very possible to manage this even before there's any type of treatment for the disease by doing the social distancing thing. Many countries are showing us that it can be done, but it requires the vast majority of the population participating in doing that. The other piece that is just still an unknown, that is a big question mark for us, is how much climate is going to affect this thing. It's certainly looking like it's not going to affect it at the level that it does, say, the flu, for instance, where in the summertime, flu just all but disappears when the weather heats up, the heat and humidity impacting that in a big way. If temperature is impacting this, it's certainly not doing it at that kind of level, and only in the coming weeks will we know for sure whether the summer is going to give us a break. Certainly in South America right now, as things are cooling off, the disease is really heating up and is really spreading rapidly. Now, a couple of the things that are worth taking note of that have been significant that have come out in the last week or so in terms of information about the disease, and these may be confusing you because this is in conflict with what you were told early on. And I would just remind you, don't write off what you're hearing now because it contradicts what you were told previously. Understand, 3 months ago, people knew almost nothing about this disease. And so there's been just a really steep learning curve, and we're all having to try and make sense out of what we're observing. Early on, we were told that this is not an airborne disease, and now the experts are telling us that it is primarily spread through airborne transmission, that they believe now there's very little spread that's taking place as a result of surface contact. This is important for us to understand because it's sharing the same air by staying in a room with other people for extended periods of time that puts us at risk. It's being in those kinds of environments, particularly not wearing a face mask, that puts us at great risk. And so we really need to take heed of this. Also, in light of another important piece of information that came out this week, and that is that the medical experts tell us that they believe now that 35% of the people who have COVID-19 are never symptomatic. So let that soak in. Roughly a third of the people who get the disease are able to pass it along without ever having been symptomatic. There's a good chance they never get tested. They never know that they had it. They just passed it on to other people. And the people who get it, there's a 2/3 chance they're going to be symptomatic. In addition to that, the people who get the disease who are going to be symptomatic, 40% of the spread of the disease through those people is happening before they're symptomatic. The point of all of this is very simple. You can't just say, well, I feel fine, so I'm not worried about spreading it to anyone else. Much of the spread of the disease is happening before people have any idea that they're sick. So it's so important that we are proactive in doing the social distancing thing. It does work, and in wearing masks. There's so much confusion about masks. People saying, oh, they don't really make a difference. They don't really protect you. Remember, we wear masks primarily to protect the people who are around us. It's the same principle as the reason that you cover your mouth whenever you cough or you sneeze. You don't do that to protect yourself. You do that so that you don't project what is in you onto other people. And it's the same thing with a mask. You don't know whether you're carrying it or not. So we put on a mask when we're going to be around other people, particularly indoors with other people, so that we don't spread the disease to other people. Remember, we all have a role to play, and as we work together, we're going to see this thing defeated. The more consistently that we do this, the quicker we'll get past it. So please, do your part, stay encouraged, stay informed. I'm Mark Price, reminding you to stay safe, to stay in touch, and to do your part to stay covered. And always remember that you are loved.